Let's talk about the doctrine of Calvinism in the form of the acronym TULIP and its problematic ideology, as well as the ideology of being chosen. We are all familiar with the idea of original sin and the fact that we're born into sin and shaped in iniquity, and if not by God's grace, we cannot be saved. The problem with that is absolutely not true. We are all born into this world as a pure and clean energy, and we are subjected to different aspects outside of ourselves that create and shape our energetic frequency in terms of the sin or syntax errors of our light bodies. So we are not born being inherently evil or degraded. We are born pure. The entire idea of a simulation like Earth School is so that you can learn lessons about the light body and how to respect the analog light body, as I teach on this channel, because there are rules that govern the different frequencies of photon light. And when you were born into Earth School, you were placed here so that you can understand and learn that through the journey. We are not born inherently inhabiting that energy. We are subjected to that energy so we can figure out how to maneuver around that energy or come to a conclusion on our own about how we should maneuver between the two energies, which is total deficit, which is in the red, or being in the green, which is a higher frequency. Choosing love of yourself, love of your creator, and love of your fellow man is being in the green. The opposite of that is the red. What was the reason or purpose for doing any of this? Well, if you have the color white and you never see the color black, you will never know that you have the color white. If you are just good all the time and you never learn the opposite of what that means, then you won't even understand the definition of what it means to be good. In the beginning of this simulation was to send us on that journey to learn about our light and for us to ascend into higher knowledge. However, that journey was hijacked by a group of people who decided to look through a portal or a looking glass and cheat the system by trying to see what is actually the meaning and what is going to happen within this simulation at the end, which, if you think about it, is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they looked into this portal, they saw the future, and it ends in a certain way. Now, I personally believe that was a projection. Number one, you had no business looking, because the entire process of us being here is for everyone to take the journey, not for you to look into a portal and see your future and then try to course correct that future by creating an alternative timeline, as well as manipulating the timeline for everybody else so that they cannot adequately take the journey towards light, meaning that you're bombarding them with all these different ideologies and beliefs, religion, and these different things that kind of cloud the judgment of people and not giving them the full and utter truth of what is, so that they can make proper decisions in their journey back towards themselves and back towards the light. We have been deprived of this experience by a group of people that looked into the future and decided, hey, there's certain of us that are chosen, there's certain of us that are not. The entire idea of being chosen is incorrect. If you know anything about math and you know how problems are solved, there are always different ways in order for you to reach the conclusion of the math equation. Yes, God set up this very succinct and precise equation that cannot be reversed or backwards. You can only go forward and you can only build within this equation to the left or the right. However, how you determine how you're solving your own equation is totally up to you, okay? There is no such thing as a chosen. The only thing that is chosen is your choice on whether or not you are going to find the light or you are going to remain in the deficit of the darkness, and you are going to be able to graduate into the new space, which is the new earth, which is an earth of light where all light is respected, all light beings are respected, and we are on a higher frequency. The only part about being chosen is that you are choosing yourself how you're going to go about this Earth School. And the problem with the predestination theory is that it would have been different had this God being opened the simulation and did not give you time to decide, meaning that God opened up the Earth School and said, okay, you guys are here, you must choose now between truth and whether you're going to go on the side of darkness. And most people with a logical brain would ask God, hey, wait a minute, I haven't had time or evidence to ponder this decision, and you're asking me to choose right now in this moment? Yes, that would be pre-chosen, predestination, unfair, unjust. But that's simply not the case. We have been given the gift of time. And with the gift of time, that means that you have had time to ponder the facts. You've had time to look over the different ideologies and make a decision. The thing about time is that time is a gift. It is virtually impossible for you to have this particular experience because you cannot do this within the infinite, okay? It's like having a four-cornered box with no length. okay? So you'd be walking, but you wouldn't be going anywhere because there's no length and measurement. You needed the construct of time in order for you to experience a portion of the infinite so that you can make certain decisions within your spiritual growth, within your light growth, finding your way to the truth and elevating to the next level. This is a construct that was created as a gift of those who seek the light and want to elevate their souls to another level. The gift of time takes completely away the idea that God pre-elected anyone in that you in TULIP. Now, the L in TULIP gets a little tricky because you're talking about atonement and that you're saved by this cross sacrifice of this Christ, okay, which is in and of itself this entire doctrine that was created to kind of soothe people or lure you into a space of comfortability so that you never hold yourself accountable. Atonement is making those things or adjustments within the light body right, okay, and that means confessing what you've done to others to their face, okay, and telling them, not a priest, okay, not going into a booth and confessing to a third party, which has absolutely nothing to do with what happened. It makes perfect sense that if you did something wrong to someone, that in order for you to clear your conscience and to make things clear, you come with a sincerity and you say, hey, I did this thing and I'm sorry. And that person say, you know what, for you having the courage to come and say that to me, I forgive you, and you both move on. Regardless of the circumstances of what put that person in that condition, forgiveness is for you to clear your light body. You let go of the idea of the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and you move on, understanding that every person has their own conditions as to why they did a certain thing, and it's not for you to determine, okay? Your purpose is for you to forgive and clear your light body and also confess so that you can get those things off of your chest and off of your heart's energy to the person that you did wrong, not a third party, not a God being. You're supposed to talk to that person and tell them exactly what it was. Otherwise, you are harboring secrets. Your light body is your own responsibility. And what I teach on this channel in regards to the sun and the solar reset and the sun being a actual door that keeps you from entering from this realm into the next, meaning that if you're not an energetic or frequency match for the solar flash, then you won't be able to ascend into the 5-dimensional space in which we were heading to. So it's not about God calling you to salvation, which is the I. It's about you accepting responsibility for the things that you have done within your light body so that you can make atonement for yourself, so that you can ascend to the 5-dimensional reality. It has absolutely nothing to do with a being sitting high and looking low and determining, okay, well, now I'm calling you to make it right. No, you have to be responsible and own up to the things that you have done. It's all your responsibility. It's no one else's. Perseverance in and of itself, like in the book of Job, where you're going through all of these hardships and trials, is a product of a simulated environment that was created to create obstacles and hurdles. It was never meant to be this way, okay? It just became convoluted and complicated with all these people who, again, looked through the portal and saw the future and determined, hey, we're going to do what we want to do because we're not chosen anyway. And they had a self-fulfilling prophecy by looking into the future and seeing that they were not involved in it, versus them heeding it as a warning and saying, hey, man, maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing because I'm being shown that this particular outcome is what's going to happen. Maybe I should change my ways. Maybe I should go in the opposite direction. But no, they chose to make themselves comfortable in those lower vibratory frequencies, as well as put everyone else in a lower frequency, okay? Just all together damnation for the entire world. Suffering, fear, anxiety is a man-made construct. Okay, everything that we endure in this earth realm, other than death, because that is something that was predetermined. However, it's all about your understanding of death and what it actually means. Placing you in a space of uncertainty about death and what happens when we die is what keeps us in this constant loop of fear. And it keeps us going into these different indoctrinations that keep us in a loop of fear. And the man-made construct of anxiety and perseverance and obstacle courses is completely man-made. Okay, we don't have to fight for resources. The earth naturally abundantly gives. So what are we actually doing here? We're talking about a man-made construct, and we're talking about evil versus good in the sense that you are placed in the position that you have to choose harsh circumstances.